A very good evening to all our dear viewers and welcome to this talk conducted by Global Education and Training Institute. In this talk series today, we have a very eminent motivational speaker with us, Mr. Manish Gupta, the founder director, Buddhi World Ahmedabad. Today, he's here and has joined us to give us an insight and share his thoughts on the importance of social and emotional learning in a student's life. Mr. Manish Gupta is a life change coach, mentor, emotional intelligence workshop consultant, and a motivational speaker. He's also the founder director of Buddhi World, an organization that was started in 2011 with the main focus on helping people improve their emotional and social competencies to enable them to bring more emotional stability, peace, and happiness in their lives. He has been a member in the International Association of Facilitators, certified trainer in gender equality awareness. He's done his PG diploma in child rights law from the National Law School, University of India, Bangalore. Currently, he is pursuing masters in social work and masters in psychology. If we talk about the notable achievements and recognition of Buddhi World, here it goes. Mr. Manish Gupta, who has worked with this institute, has worked in collaboration with the central government body National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, New Delhi, in the states of Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, and New Delhi, and conducted workshops for them on child sex abuse using emotional intelligence to sensitize the participants in 2017 and 2018. He has also worked in collaboration with the Delhi State Commission for Protection of Child Rights on a sensitization program on child sex abuse using emotion intelligence in 2018. He has also worked with the Juvenile Justice Board, New Delhi, to sensitize the staff, including the police, in 2019 and has worked and served as parenting workshop consultant too. Today, he is associated and has rendered his valuable advice and services across India in many states like New Delhi, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu and Uttarakhand. We most warmly welcome you, sir, and we would definitely be very anxiously, we are waiting for the shares to be thought across by you on this very significant and vital topic that you've chosen, the importance of social and emotional learning in a student's life. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for that wonderful and very warm welcome. And good evening to all our viewers here. Without wasting any time, the introduction has been done. So, without wasting any time, I'd like to, straight away get into the subject. And just give me a minute while I work with the screen. Yeah. Yes. So here we are. So, importance of social and emotional learning in a student's life. This is the subject that that's uh, been in our hearts right from when we started working on emotional intelligence in 2011. That's exactly when we started working with this wonderful subject called emotional intelligence. Now, as we go ahead on this program, you will understand for yourself why this is very important. And trust me, emotional and social intelligence is not just important in a student's life, it's important in the life of every single human being out there. But why we are talking about a student's life today is that is the right time to actually teach them these skills. And here we are going to tell you why. Let's first look at the focus of schools today. Where exactly do the schools have their focus? To a very large extent, it's purely academic in nature. All the time, it's about your subjects, it's about your maths, your science, your physics, your chemistry, your biology, your commerce, your economics, your accountancy, you know, history, geography. The focus is only on that. More or less, it's only on that, throughout the year, right from when you get into the first standard, first, second, third, fourth, that's when you learn the basics of the subject and forming sentences, etc. But then, right from there, all that's been taught to you is all that's been told to you is focus on your subjects, focus on your subjects, focus on your subjects. It's all only that. All tests that they have, all the tests that they have, and every other way of testing your intelligence is all done in a very standardized way. For example, how much is so much 2 plus 2 or 20 into 20, those kind of questions. Or you can say, name some body parts. If you're a small child, name some body parts. Which are the parts of your body which you can move and use? Which are the parts of your body which you use to eat your food? Questions like that. Where is Orissa situated? Where is Maharashtra situated? Mark that on the map. Only these kind of questions, day in and day out. And as you go into the higher classes, the degree of that particular subject, the difficulty increases, the portions increase, and you deep dive more and more into those subjects. But overall, what is being taught to you in school is only about those academic subjects, day in and day out, right from when you enter school to when you exit school. Now there are different types of testing methods. You can have multiple choice questions, you can have the essay type answers, you can have a mix of both, you can have a little bit of practicals, but everything is there only to test your IQ, your levels of intelligence quotient, and nothing more, nothing beyond that. Yes. So what does that lead to? What that leads to is you are not given an opportunity, or probably not enough opportunities to be imaginative. You're not given an atmosphere where you can let your thoughts run, where you can express based on what you imagine, what you feel you can do better. There is no room for that at all, because you hardly have any time. All your time goes in attending those classes, the subject classes, taking down notes, doing your homework, preparing, reading, studying for the test, studying for the exams, and you come back and day in and day out, right from your first standard to 12th standard, this is exactly what you're doing. So your interest, you could be interested in sports, you could be interested in music, you could be interested in dance. Even if the schools do, have these so-called dance classes or music classes or sports, it's to a very, very, very small extent, because majorly the focus is only on academics, day in and day out. And then there's absolutely no ways of testing a child for any other capabilities. How good are your leadership skills? How good are your communication skills? How good are your skills in sports? Are you a good cricketer? Are you a good badminton player? There are very, very, very few schools in Chennai. I mean, in India, I'm from Chennai, so I let this slip out of my mouth. I was in Chennai earlier. Now I moved based to Ahmedabad. So even when I was in Chennai, there were hardly a couple of schools who used to focus on sports. And across the country as well, most of the schools are only focusing on academics. Somehow, somewhere down the line, the thought process is only this: get the children to get good grades, good marks, and that's all. That's where the entire focus is. So this is what schools is for you today. Now, if you have to learn, practice more of your music than what's being taught in school, you have to do more of dancing. It's all outside. If you have to learn more of cricket, more of football, more of kabaddi, more of chess, you have to take lessons from outside. Hardly any schools in the country which gives you those extra facilities in school, right? So this is what school education today looks like. Now, we're talking about social skills and emotional skills and intelligence skills, social and emotional skills and intelligence skills. Now, let's look at the difference between both, right? So here we are on the left, on one side, you can see emotions. So emotion, this part is not taught to you in school. You're not taught what are emotions, how you can identify, segregate, and use the power of your emotions to help yourself to become better in life. That is never ever taught to you in school. What is taught to you in school, however, is what you see on the other side, which says academic abilities. They identify your strengths, it could on various subjects, and then they assess you for it. And finally, in the name of an exam, you're tested. This is what happens in schools all the time. It's academic abilities. This is the difference between EQ and IQ. What we're going to look into this in this program is how EQ actually makes a larger difference in your life than the IQ. Obviously, IQ is very important, but how important is the IQ and how important is the EQ is what we're going to look at right now. Okay, so what essential skills are students missing today? Let's take a look at it. So while all the focus is on the students' grades and their marks, they certainly seem to be missing out on the most important or the extremely important skills which play a very important role in defining their success and putting them in a state where they are much happier in life. And what are those skills? Those skills are easily the social and emotional skills. That's what is missing in students' lives today. Okay, here we come to. So you might ask, what are the skills? Let's look at some of the skills. Listening skills is one of the most important emotional and social skill, right? Today, children have very less amounts of patience because they have very less attention span as well. Whether it's an online class or an offline class, I think the attention span is hardly behind, beyond 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and for some people, probably maximum of 12 to 15 minutes. That's what the attention span is. After that, they get distracted very easily. Listening skills is a very, very important skill. Conflict resolution. Whenever there's a conflict between two people, do all children have the capability of ensuring that they are able to resolve it in the manner that it should be, peacefully, without any violence, without any arguments, without tempers flaring high? Are they able to do it? That's a very, very important skill. Handling peer pressure. My God, this is so, so important. A lot of parents suffer because their children don't know how to handle peer pressure, and their children don't know how to handle peer pressure. One of the main reasons for that is absolute lack of social and emotional skills. So a child comes back home and says, my friend has got that, I need that. Now, not sure if his or her parents are able to afford that. Another child says, do you know, we are not going anywhere this year on a holiday. My friend is going to so and so place. He's going out of the country. One friend is going to Kashmir. Where are we going? Why aren't we going? Peer pressure is huge. My classmate goes for a dinner every week. I hardly go for a dinner once in 3 months. So what are you going to do about it? How are you going to tell the child, look, don't worry. Don't worry. There will be a time when we will be able to afford it, but currently we can't afford it. How are you going to explain it to him? You should have done it long back. So that's where the social and emotional skills are missing. These skills have to be inculcated in children right from a younger age, and we'll be seeing that. Tolerance levels, like I said, children have hardly have any patience these days. Handling aggression. We've seen little children. We've seen 10-year-old and 12-year-old children having aggression. When is it that you've actually heard? How many years ago? I've never ever heard in my school life that school children aged 10, 11, 12, 13 are going to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist for their aggression, or because they are feeling too lonely, because they are feeling depressed, and then the psychologist assesses the child and says, your child is depressed. A 10 and an 11-year-old child depressed, when have you ever heard of that? This is something totally different. So everything is changing. The world is changing. It is more and more imperative now that schools focus on these skills. Then skills like planning and organizing, communication skills, very, very, very important. I'm sorry to say this without wanting to hurt anybody, but I've seen a lot of children. We've conducted workshops in more than 100 educational institutions across the country, but we have seen children struggle to communicate. We've seen children of good schools struggle to communicate. They're not able to put in even 2 to 4 sentences and communicate freely what they have to. It's so difficult. I've seen children struggling on trying to express the language, the choice of words. It's just not happening, right? So communication is one very important thing. Interpersonal skills. How do you get along with your classmates? How do you get along with the other people in your society? Your interpersonal skills. So all these skills are missing today to a very, very large extent. And somehow, sadly, the schools are not really able to do anything much about it because the schools have something called a curriculum. They have to finish this, and there is absolutely no room to fit in anything else. There's no room because there's no time, right? That's what we are told all the time. That's what we are told. We just don't have the time. Our teachers are busy. They have to finish the curriculum. The final exams are on, the half yearly exams are on. We have a backlog, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on. So, how are they going to learn the above skills? There will be some children, where when I say some, very, very few children, maybe out of every 100, there will be 3 or 5 children who will be able to handle all these issues, or large to a large extent most of the issues very well. What about the other children? How is that going to happen? Not everybody is capable of doing it. We have to understand something, that every single child is different, to such an extent that even twins born, are not the same. They think different, they have different interests, they behave differently. One can be very good at academics, one can be very good at sports. Every single child is different. So, how are we going to help these children to cope up with all the challenges in their lives? That's a very, very big question, and I don't really know how it's going to happen. So, what do researchers and employers say? Let us look at some very powerful statistics. Now, I'm going to present to you two statistics from, you know, probably the mecca of education across the world. Now, let's see what they have to say. A study of Harvard graduates in business, medicine, law, and teaching indicated that IQ showed a negative or a zero correlation between an IQ indicator. What exactly they're saying and subsequent career success. What exactly they're saying is that the tests they have, especially the entrance exam tests they have to get into good colleges, probably a Harvard or probably even an IIT or an IIM or an NIT or some of the top colleges, across the world. The entrance exams they have, they hardly test you for any other skills other than your IQ skills. And those skills are not really the skills which have any impact on your career success further on. That's exactly what's being said. It's a very, very, very important research. And the next research here has come out from two of the other best universities across the world, which is the Stanford and the Carnegie Mellon Foundation. So the Stanford Research Institute and the Carnegie Mellon Foundation, when they spoke to Fortune 500 CEOs, Fortune 500 is the top 500 companies across the world. When they spoke, and based on what they said, and this was a part of the research, they found that 75% of long-term job success depends purely on people's skills, while only 25% depends on technical knowledge. Now, if the research is saying that 75% of your success depends upon your people skills, which is basically a combination of your emotional and social skills. Now, if 75% of your success is based on that, and only 25% depends on your technical knowledge, what are we actually learning in school? We are only learning the technical knowledge. We're only reading subjects. We're only reading the books which have nothing else about other than the subjects. Now, I don't know how many of you will remember, but when I was a child in school, at least I had a subject called moral science. I'm not sure if I see that anymore. There was a subject called moral science, and then there were these books with stories, lovely stories, and at the end of the story, you had a moral on honesty, on integrity, on hard work, on determination. And you had several stories which were taught to you. You read that, it struck you somewhere, it struck a chord, and more or less, children tried to be ethical and, inculcate a lot of values in their lives. I don't see that happening at all, right? So, here are two very, very powerful research for you. Now, let's look at the main issues that children suffer today. Aggressive behavior, you don't have to say it. A lot of children get angry like this in seconds. All you need to do is probably ask the same question. The mother or the father asks the same question, which they ask again and again as a loop, and the child explodes aggressive. It could be throwing something, it could be getting into the room and banging the room door and answering rudely. It could be any way. Lack of responsibility. Children don't like to take responsibility. A lot of children that I know, in fact, a lot of parents that we speak to actually say that the children don't really have the sense of responsibility. And when I say that, it's not just sense of responsibility, it's also connected with something called they don't really have value for money, and money and responsibility go hand in hand. So let's look at the other things. Not outgoing, when we were young, I think, and when we had guests coming home, our parents would ensure that we sit with the guests. Probably, the tradition that we had, because we're Hindus, we had to fall at the feet of elders, take their blessings, and we mostly sat there with them till they were there at home with us. And, half an hour or 1 hour or 2 hours. Now, children are not like that. Most of the adult children that we know are closeted in their rooms. They're stuck on their mobile phones or on their laptops. And, they come out just for formality, greet the person, the elders, and they go back. And that is one reason why they're not outgoing. Their social skills, freely, going out in society and being able to talk with people, mingle easily with people, it doesn't happen with everyone. It's a rare skill, right? Lack of empathy. I mean, feeling sad for others, feeling bad for others. This is missing in a lot of children, right? Children definitely are displaying a lot of lack of empathy. Gadget and social media addiction. I think every parent talks about this. Every parent says, my child is hooked onto the gadget. Now, whom do we blame? It's the chicken and the egg story over here. Do we blame the children, or do we blame today's parents, where even when they have to feed their child, they ensure that the mobile or the tabs are on and there's a cartoon going on, and then the child is sitting and watching cartoon and the mother is feeding the child, or there's a nanny there to feed the child. So whom are we to blame? Who is actually putting in these habits into the children? Now that's $1 million question. That's a different question, but definitely connected to this. Definitely connected. Second thing, gadget and social media addiction, whatever you call it, it's connected to peer pressure, it's connected to parenting, and it's connected to a lot of other things. So we just can't blame the child, but yes, it's the largest and the biggest issue today, gadget and social media addiction, right? And a lot of parents want to find answers to this, they just don't have any answers to it. Substance abuse. Well, I have found a lot of children, 18, 19, 20, 21 year olds in colleges, first year, second year, third year. And I have them talking about how, substances are easily available, and a lot of their classmates have tried, have tested, and it's not difficult to find them, and blah, 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 which means that a lot of children do try, substances, and some of them actually get hooked onto it. So this is another issue. Loneliness. Like I said, depression. A lot of children today tend to get lonely very, very easily. And why? Because we said, we spoke about not outgoing. They're not outgoing. They don't talk much with people. One of the main reasons for loneliness is a lot of people are communicating with the gadgets, and gadgets don't have emotions. Let's remember this. Gadgets do not have emotions, only human beings have emotions. And then there's the emotional exchange is not there, the connectivity is not there, and somehow then the loneliness creeps in. They're not outgoing, they don't mix with society, they don't mix easily with friends, they don't mix with family, and the loneliness creeps in. Sensitive. Children are very, very sensitive these days. You tell them one small thing and it can end up in two, situations. One is they can explode. They can absolutely explode. Or second thing is they can implode and be quiet and get into a shell. So these two things can happen, right? So I say it's a we world. So when I say we, it's not a virtual world. When I say we, there's a vacuum or a valley in between. Either they are extremely sensitive, or they are the other way, right? So they either react or they totally, go into silent mode. So this is one thing. And when we talk about how sensitive the children are, I mean, there are so many times when you get to read in the papers that a child asked his father for a motorcycle, or somebody was, not taken to a birthday party, or somebody was not allowed to go out on a picnic with their friends, and end up even giving their lives. That's how sensitive children have become today. It's not at all easy to handle them. Anxiety. Children have these anxiety attacks, panic attacks. Why? I mean, I just don't understand why they have these anxiety and panic attacks. It's only because obviously they don't have their emotions in control. There's this huge up down surge of emotions this way and that way. And there are several reasons for that. Children having anxiety attacks. Indecisive. Children of these days are very confused. They're not able to take decisions easily, a lot of children at least. And this is again another reason. I mean, this is again another issue that is faced today in a lot of families, because we've heard parents saying that, yesterday he was telling me this. That is, I'm not talking about a 10-year-old. I'm talking about a 16 or a 17 or an 18-year-old child. 2 months ago, my child wanted to do this. Now my child wants to do that. Lot of indecisiveness all around. Wrong eating and sleeping habits. I won't even, I think, need to discuss this. A lot of parents are facing these issues. Children are eating all the different kinds of foods. I think the foods that we didn't even hear about when we were in school, the kind of foods that children want to eat today. A lot of children have become these night owls. They don't seem to sleep before 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning, and then they wake up by 9 and 10. And a lot of children are not even looking at, the sunrise early in the morning. And what's happening? Lack of vitamin D, lack of vitamin B12 at a very, very young age. At a very young age, this is again eating into their health, and not just physical health, it's also eating into their mental health. And finally, a result of this, a combination of all this, they end up being low on confidence, which is a lot that we see. Children very easily, start talking like, my life has become like this. Why only me? I'm the one who's suffering, etc., etc. There's no confidence levels at all. You see it on a very, very low level. There's no confidence with children, right? So today, these are the main issues with children. Let's see how we can combat this. Is there a solution? Absolutely. Social and emotional learning. This is the one thing which can get children's thought processes to change. See, if you want somebody to do something differently, what do you have to do? You have to help that person change his or her thought process. Children are only looking like this. As they say, if you keep doing the same thing, you will keep getting the same thing. So children are only doing the same thing and they're getting the same results. If you want your children to do things differently, and if you want to see different results, you have to get them to learn social and emotional learning. It's very, very important. Can it be learned? Yes, absolutely. Anyone can learn social and, the social and emotional skills. Anyone at all. You don't need to know English necessarily for that. You can learn it in any language. These are life skills. Anybody, who can coach you in these skills, you have to work with such a person. Make sure you find the right kind of coach, somebody who knows about social and emotional skills, somebody who knows the process. Do your homework well, but yes, you definitely need to find the right person and you need to be coached, because it's not being taught in school. Okay, how much time is required? It depends from person to person. As you know, everything here depends on whether you are willing to practice it or not. If you practice it regularly, every single day for about 90 or 120 days, after that automatically, it will get into it. Rather, I'll say that it will get into auto mode, and then you will start doing the things right. That's because you will bring in a very, very key element of emotional skills, which is self awareness. Once self awareness comes in, you will find solutions to a lot of other things. They will start falling in place, right? So it can be taught. The time required is a minimum of 3 to 4 months, provided you practice every single day, and you can start seeing changes after those 3 months or 4 months, and you can see good changes. So, if you need any help, to all the schools out there and to everyone who's looking at this program, we are available. If you want us to, put together a social and emotional learning program for your schools, for your faculty, we are here. We've done it with several schools. We work with several schools. We work with government organizations. We will be able to do it. We're doing this since 2011. You can connect with us at buddhiworld.training@gmail.com, or here you have our two phone numbers. You can call us, and then we will be extremely glad to help you. And if you want to understand better what we do, here's our website, buddhiworldtraining.com. Right? So with that, we end this presentation, and presentation on the importance of social and emotional learning in a student's life. And I'm going to stop sharing the PPT.
Thank you so much, sir. And before we conclude, there are a few questions that need to be addressed. And one of those questions is, you spoke about the solution, the probable solution to all the issues that can be faced or are getting faced by the youngsters and the younger generation, and how important and significant it is to address those issues at the tender age, at the adolescent age. And you also spoke about the social and emotional learning programs. Could you please elaborate on that a little more?
Oh, all right. Thank you so much. So, like I was saying, what exactly happens in schools? What do you learn in school? What you learn in schools is all subject based, right? And if you see, there's something called a golden age in a child's life. The golden age, according to psychology, some say is between 0 to 7, while some say it is between 0 to 8. So let's take it as 0 to 8. Now, this is the age where you can actually teach all those skills which will help a child's character building. Now, if parents have not done that, like I was saying, what do parents do? Even to feed your child, they put a tab. Ma'am, I'm sure you would have seen. Sunita, ma'am, you would have seen yourself. They place a tab or they place a child right in front of the TV because their work becomes easier. But what parents don't realize is that their work can become easier for now, but they're going to make it more and more difficult for the child as the child grows up, right? And then today you are giving a tab in the child's hand. 10 years later, you will regret it, saying, my child is just not getting rid of the tab or the mobile phone. Then who is to be blamed, right? And why we are talking about schools, why we are talking about schools is very important because, this is not something like a polio drop where you can knock on the door of a house, tell the child, open your mouth, put in 2 drops of social and emotional learning, and get out of that. It doesn't happen, right? It's a process. It takes time, right? And where can you find the children collectively? You can find them in a place called school. So that is the best way to introduce a program where you can reach out to them collectively and start working on them. It all needs time. Now, one of the biggest grievance I have, or rather we have when we work with schools, the school says, yes, we will allow you to do a program, but it has to be only for 2 hours or 4 hours. We can't give you anything more than that. So, ma'am, I want to ask you a question, simple question. If there's a child who's say 12 or 13 or 14 years old and is having a particular following a particular habit which you want to change, and the child is practicing that habit for the last 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, do you think it can be changed in 2 hours or 4 hours? Is it possible? It's not possible.
Sir, my second question was about that only. That why do we think, and why do we take it this way, that the schools are the right place for children to learn all these skills rather than home? So,
Okay.
what makes you go about and think about this? That the schools play a vital role in shaping up, the children's emotions and the skill developments.
So if you actually see, the children are spending more time at school and with their teachers than with parents at home. Morning they wake up, they're busy getting ready, taking a shower, and finishing the other formalities, breakfast, etc. They're rushing. they are present at home, but they don't really have a conversation with the parents on any values or anything important. And then they rush to school. Then they are in school for probably 5 hours, 6 hours. They are in school, and then they come back home. They are busy with their studying. They are busy with their tuitions. They are busy with their friends. They're busy with their TV. They're busy with their chatting. Again, they are physically present at home, but are they actually present with their family? They aren't. So which is the best place? Where do you think the best communication can actually happen? Where do you think the best transfer of information or knowledge can happen? School. And the schools prove that. They are able to transfer knowledge of math, physics, science, chemistry, sociology, biology, commerce, accounts. They're able to transfer all those things into your head, right? Make sure that you read them, you score 100 out of 100, you score 90, you score 80. They're able to do that. Why not life skills? And we're not saying, just do it one day. You can start right from standard one. All it needs is probably one session a week. It needs just one session a week, 45 minutes or probably 1 hour every week. And then you get them to practice slowly right from a young age. And by the time they're they're the fifth or sixth standard, you will already find them being more proactive socially. You'll find them being more outward. You'll find them being more friendly. You'll find them being less aggressive. And you will find them more responsible. It has worked. There are programs where this works. So that is why it has to be in the school. It cannot be at home. It is imperative that at least now schools and even colleges start thinking about a social and emotional learning program for their children. Children have to be taught why. Because if you ask me why we specifically work with children, we still aren't working with corporates. Because these little children are tomorrow's future, they are tomorrow's India, right? That's why we want to catch them young and see how we can help them to change that thought process and make things better for themselves, for tomorrow, and for the country tomorrow.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for addressing those two questions and giving your valuable insight to this very vital and very significant topic that you covered today through your talk, that is the importance of social and emotional learning in a student's life. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Manish Gupta, founder and director, Buddhi World, all the way from Gujarat, joining us this evening. And we'll be joining with you with such more important talks covered by many other speakers under the Global Education and Training Institute talk conducted and founded by education visionary Dr. Sunita Gandhi. And this disruptive education movement that is all about bringing global leaders together to partner with us in the disruptive literacy movement. Please mail us at scaleup at globaldream.guru or WhatsApp or call us at 91740 840 6000. With that, we wind up today's talk. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. It was a
Amita
very
ma'am, thank
nice and
you.
valuable time
Thank you,
spent
Getty,
with
and
you.
thank you. It was a pleasure being on the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.